Welcome to Human at the Helm, the show where we explore what it really takes to navigate marketing in an AI-driven world. I'm your host, Veronica Markol, and every episode I sit down with agency leaders, CMOs, and innovators who are figuring out how to keep humans at the center while embracing the tools of the future. Today, I'm excited to welcome Christine Whisler, CEO of Southern Palm Communications. With an Emmy-winning background as a multimedia journalist, Christine has spent her career turning powerful stories into impact for businesses and nonprofits, from leading marketing at the Humane Society of Tampa Bay to co-founding her own boutique agency just a year and a half ago. Southern Palm is known for its white glove PR services, blending data-driven results with a deep commitment to corporate responsibility. Together with her strategic AI partner, Christine is pioneering innovations like proactive media intelligence that keeps clients ahead in a fast-changing landscape, all while staying grounded in a human connection. And right, the R in public relations is all about human connection. So, Christine, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So, Christine, one of the things I would love to hear about is your journey from an Emmy-winning journalist to founding Southern Palm Communications. So could you share a little bit about what motivated you to launch Southern Palm and how your background shaped its purpose-driven mission?
Thank you so much. Great question. So like you mentioned, I did the news thing for more than a decade, got the Emmy, got the little piece of metal. Honestly, thankful for every single season of life. It was a great season, but I was tired of telling bad news. I felt like I was distributing the worst 1% of society to 100% of society. And I get it. I get that slime, grime, crime, that's what can help make the dollar bills. That's what people click on and want to talk about. But I was determined to get good news in the news cycle. So since I couldn't do it as well from that position, I was like, I'm going to help businesses and organizations doing good learn how to get their news in the news cycle. Because as a reporter, I was like, there's so much good happening, but there's a lack of education on how to get the good into the news cycle. So that's really what started it all. I got out of news and I accepted an in-house PR marketing position for a year, moved to an agency where I worked my way up to the vice president after 2 years. And then my husband and I started our own about a year and a half ago. In that time, we've helped more than 25 clients. We have a return on ad spend of $1,600 for every $1 spent. We've done more than 500 news stories. And I'm proud to say, I think we figured out the formula, both for nonprofits and for for-profits, of helping get them in the news consistently 2 to 4 times a month. And it really comes down to that corporate social responsibility plan, doing good in the world.
I love that. And I actually live in Texas now, but I lived in Vermont, and Vermont has the highest number of businesses for social responsibility per capita of any state in the country. So I love that you're supporting that. And it's so great to work with mission-driven organizations. So kudos to you. But you did touch on something I'm really curious about, because you emphasize ROI and data-driven results, which can be very hard through local media, right? So how do you measure and communicate the tangible impact of your PR efforts? Because that's always been a challenge.
Yes, it has. I will always share my tools, and I give away anything that I'm doing. I'm happy to help others learn. So right now we are using a tool called Critical Mention. I know there's a lot of media monitoring softwares out there. That's the one that I have found has the best customer service. So just a little pitch for them there. But it is a couple $1,000s a year. It's pretty expensive. And you are able to go in and download and clip the tools the different segments that air from your clients. So not all media stories make it onto a website or somewhere you can share the link. So that tool does allow you to be able to not only download it, which you can then share on social media or websites, but it also assigns a value, kind of that ROI value that we look at. It depends on what time of day and what station. It pulls a lot of that information through Nielsen and the ratings. But it tells you on average about how many folks are watching that TV segment in real time. And it then assigns it a value amount. So let's say Tampa is market like 13 at 5 a.m. Let's say 3 million people are watching. It tells you if you were to run an advertisement about what quantifiable number that would cost you to do the advertisement. So that's what we use. But the really interesting thing that I'm most excited about, and I'm sorry, this is in addition to your question, our team has recently designed a proactive narrative intelligence module that is able to see, using AI, see what might be coming down the news, down the pipeline. So that we're really excited. It's like phase 2 and something we're really excited about implementing.
Well, And so you did just like steal my next question because
Sorry.
when we talked earlier, you did mention your AI partner, and your AI partner isn't actually artificial intelligence. It's a human, right? It's Bo
Yeah.
Brookmender. And so
Yep.
I'm curious how did you come up with this idea, and how long has it been working on developing it? And are you using it now?
Great question. So we have been partner for probably going on 3 or 4 months now because I saw about 6 months ago, I saw him in person speaking and I was like, he is right now the smartest man in the room. I always say I am not the smartest person in the room and I want to work with the other people that are the smartest people in the room. So he is top of his league, top of the game. He is just so integrated in AI and has been for years now. And he is now at a point where he's developing systems and softwares utilizing AI specifically in the communication space. So we say that he's not as nitty gritty into some of the softwares of AI as much as he is how can we use it to help communications teams figure out what they're doing. So whether it be content creating while keeping a human in the loop and or scaling output, or there's just so many uses for it, but really focusing on communications.
Well, and again, if I understand it correctly, what you're talking about is actually kind of being able to predict what the right message is tomorrow, not necessarily
Yeah.
today. So
Yes, that's right.
yeah, that's amazing. One of the things that has come up a lot is none of us have a crystal ball to be able to tell the future. And yet it sounds like you might be building one.
Yes, it does help. Absolutely. It's going to help with the thought leadership too, right? Because just knowing what's coming down the pipeline and trends, looking at different trends, and it will help people stay proactive on what might be coming so that they can be thought leadership is one of those things where you kind of have to be the first one to say it. Otherwise, it's not as much thought leadership, right? Like you have to be on the cutting edge. So this tool that we've created has really been able to help with that.
Okay, so this is really fascinating to me because, there's this concept that no idea is a truly new idea, right? Like we've been around for a long time. So how much of it is truly original? But one of the things that you also touched on, and right, like we've talked about this because you often say human in the loop. My company is human at the helm. We both clearly believe that there's still a really important and probably will be for the foreseeable future. The role of humans with AI is really critically important, and critical thinking is also really important. But one of the things that I wanted to probe with you is there's a lot of fear around AI, especially at entry level positions, and when it comes to security and privacy, and also when it comes to authenticity. So, from a client perspective, I think they want to understand, okay, how deep is AI in your creative? And then from an employee perspective or your team perspective, people want to know if I'm using it to amplify my capabilities, at what point in time am I amplifying myself out of a job? And so I'm curious about your strategies for both internal and external AI relationship management.
You
That
hit the
might
nail on the
I'm sorry.
pardon?
That could be a new role, AI relationship.
It so could be. You hit the nail on the head that it is very emotion evoking. So that's the number one thing we hear from our clients is especially when you're trying to implement AI throughout an organization, scared, exciting, nerve-wracking, elated that it's going to help them so much, right? Like there's a plethora of emotions that people are feeling when they hear the word AI, and AI doesn't just mean the same thing anymore. AI means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So it's trying to rein in the messaging and the brand management internally within the company, talking to the C-suites, figuring out a strategic plan of how do you want to use AI morally and ethically, and how do you want to implement it into the company, and then implementing it in a way where everyone can buy in and get on board to kind of negate some of those negative emotions that are constantly arising with it.
I'm going to push on this a little bit more because one of the other things that we've talked about is you like to do work with businesses for social responsibility, or social responsibility is an important part of um, your ethos. So, do you feel like there's a difference in how those types of companies are going to deploy AI versus mainstream corporate America?
You know, that's a great question. Is there a difference? Probably, but does there need to be a difference? No. I think we could all implement it the same way. I think that some folks in mainstream in money making America, right, are going to focus on bottom line and the money aspect of it. But you can't just focus on the money aspect of basically having these tools replace certain jobs and opportunities without having a human in the loop. So I think that that is something that we'll see the pendulum swing away from. Hopefully, I think that we've already seen in some areas of mainstream America where they're trying to just replace with AI, and that is not what's going to cut the mustard, because this is something where it's going to help us deliver a more quality product with humans involved. We cannot just cut the humans out of the loop. That's why we're huge on keeping humans in the loop. I am hopeful, and I have seen so far from our own experience that folks that are focused on the social corporate responsibility, they aren't cutting, at least the ones from my experience, are not just cutting the jobs completely, and they're utilizing it as a tool and investing in their people to learn how to use these tools to better the company as a whole, but it's not a replacement. So is there a difference? Potentially. I haven't done all my research on that yet, but does there need to be a difference? No, I can answer that confidently.
Well, and I think what I'm hearing you say, and again, so far the people who have joined in the podcast have been very like-minded in that these are people who are using AI, who are using it, some very, very deeply in their organizations, right? Like I'm talking to marketing agencies who are using it to replace project management. And they're not doing that because they want to replace account executives. They're using it because they want to free up the account executives' time so they can focus on the fun things like strategy and real relationship management. But what I'm hearing you say is it would be nice to think that all organizations are going to approach AI with some ethics and integrity and with social responsibility in mind. I think that's what you were saying. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
on that, there's something else I'd like to kind of throw in there, which is I want to avoid leading with just AI as like bringing the value to the organization. Because AI means so many different things to so many different people now, we're really focusing on exactly what is the AI doing for you? What is the end product? So instead of saying AI is a tool that will make your content faster, we are going to instead say it's a platform that saves time, reduces costs, and keeps you ahead of the story. Keeps you on the cutting edge. So it's less talking about it just as this thing that is going to help you, and more talking about how is it going to help you, and really focusing on that.
So you are leading the questions, not the questions leading you. When it comes to content in public relations, a big part of content is understanding what is it that people want to hear. So it isn't, I don't know how AI can help with that, but how do you leverage it? How do you leverage it in your content creation, in and expediting your deliveries? Like, and how do you share that information with your clients so they have a good understanding of what to expect from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that a lot of buyers are tired of the quote unquote AI hype and may not trust that AI equals magic anymore, right? Like there's just this idea out there that, oh, well, if AI is involved, we are good. That's, yes, it's exciting and yes, it's great, but it's those outcomes that we're really focused on, right? So how much time is this saving you? How much money is this saving you? What are the sharp narratives that we can get out of this product, if you will? So really framing AI as the engine under the hood, and where can this car get us? It's a big part of the car, but where is the car taking us and who's at the steering wheel? And a human has to be at the steering wheel of the car. So that's the analogy that we like to use. AI is the engine under the hood. The platform is about content, insight, and impact, and keeping a human holding that steering wheel so that you're in control.
So we talked about this earlier before we got on the show, and that is that I've been talking to a lot of agency leaders, and I spoke to one recently, and we're still talking about whether she's going to come on the show or not, because she actually will use AI to support her operations, but she will not use it for anything else. And she refuses to give up staff to AI. She's just planted her flag in the ground around that, and that's where she's going to rally. And I'm curious if in 5 years somebody's going to want to pay a premium for that because she's going to stick with human innovation. So I guess that is one of the questions that I would have for you is, again, thinking about our target audience as being other people who run agencies. Where do you see AI as a tool for differentiating our businesses within the marketplace now?
Great question. Good luck to that woman. And I know I get from a moralistic standpoint where she's coming from, like, God bless that enthusiasm to stay there. But from my professional opinion, I feel like if you don't stay with the current times and evolve with these tools and this technology that we have at our disposal, it's almost like trying to cut down a tree with a nail filer instead of a chainsaw. Like, if you can move the needle quicker and potentially sharper and better, but also keep a human involved, why wouldn't you? Like, why sit there for 120 days with your nail filer trying to cut down the tree and it'll end up all jaggedy and janky, right? Where if we can like use this chainsaw, if we can use the technology that we have at our disposal, but we have to use it safely, we have to use it correctly, we have to put on our safety goggles, we have to respect it as the tool that it is, and so that it doesn't hurt us and that it doesn't hurt the tree, hurt the company. And, I think that it will be very difficult. And I truly wish her the best, but I think that the product, at least my philosophy is the product will be better and more competitive if you utilize AI, but keeping a human involved and respect.
And it is a really powerful tool. We all know that with great power comes great responsibility. But this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to start this podcast, is because when I owned my agency, it was a small to mid-size agency in a small market. And we were one of the big three in the state of Vermont. But what was really difficult, it was how to truly differentiate ourselves, because a lot of times your most valuable asset walks out of the door at 5 o'clock every day, right? It's the talent that you can attract to your business that really, for me, was what was different about our agency. And so many agencies say that. So now the question is, does AI amplify that, right? Like, does AI make it easier to say we're different because now we have this partner and we've trained this partner to amplify the creativity and the talent of the people who are here? Or does it start to level the playing field? I mean, what do you think about that? Does it help agencies distinguish themselves, or is it just going to level up the competition in general?
I think, unfortunately, it will probably create a little bit more noise, because I think that there are agencies that will use it incorrectly, right? That'll just like pump out content, and it will probably create a little bit more noise that we'll need to break through. Hopefully in the next year or two, we'll be able to break through that. But I think that for folks that can use it strategically right now, I think it will level up the content. I think it'll level up our ability to cut costs, save time, cut revisions. Like, we are such an industry in the communications world of words and revisions, and every word does matter. And I think we've already seen for our clients that it's cutting down on hours of time and hours of revisions once we use the tool to communicate in the brand way that we want and implement all the messaging. It's the prompting, right? You have to spend a lot of time prompting it to have a really good output. So I think that it will ultimately enhance. But when you say will it level the playing field, I think at first it will level the playing field a little bit, but then there's going to be a clear division of who's using it right and who's using it wrong. And I think the people that are keeping the human in the loop and really looking over every single piece of work and then using the tool or revising it without the tool or whatever that might be, I think that that's where you're going to see your clear divide, and those are going to come out the winners.
I think that's great insight, and I hope it's true. I really do hope that is what the distinguishing characteristic is that we've got critical thinkers who have good context and experience really looking over the material. And that's what I'm hearing, is that that's really where everybody is right now. But I do want to go back to my last title before founder of Human at the Helm was Chief Marketing Officer. And now I've added Chief AI Officer. But I do want to go back to this idea of AIR instead of PR. And what I mean by that is people are adding AI to their teams, right? Like, people are falling in love with their chatbots. There's definitely something that's a semblance of a relationship. And yet I still don't see how in your field, especially, that it could ever possibly replace humans' ability to really understand what is a story, even though you're developing predictive intelligence to think about what the story is going to be tomorrow. So what are your thoughts on all of that?
My goodness. The relationships with the chatbot thing, whew, I think it's honestly, I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I think it's a product of a culture where we're not getting out and interacting with humans enough, right? Like we're not getting outside and ingrained in those communities and interacting with people enough. I don't know if that's answering your question in whole, but I just like I felt the need to say that just because, yes, using these tools with a human at the helm, a human in the loop is so important. But from our own mental health as a nation, as a world, we need to step away from the technology for a second and be in community, continue meeting up in person with your friends, coworkers, clients, whatever it might be. So I know that that was super hyper focused on one part of your question. What do you think about that?
Well, it's very interesting, especially when you start talking about social responsibility, right? Because you learn about people thinking of, well, I need green space. Is that what they call it? And I'm like, well, that's going outside, right? Like that's going into my backyard. And I do try to spend time in nature every day, but I recognize that I'm an early adopter of technology. However, I remember when cell phones came out, I was working in the ski industry. And the first time I rode up the chairlift with somebody on a cell phone, I was incensed. I was like, who do you think you are that you're so important that you're invading my space in nature with that technology and acting? I mean, it was awful. And I still feel that way. There's therapists now who specialize in helping people detach from their phones and have time together as humans because they spend so much time on their phone, their relationships are suffering. So I
Yeah,
agree with you wholeheartedly. And I don't know how much COVID played a part of this, right? Like, and there are great things that happened as a result of COVID, like we're having this conversation and it's become very normal. And I'm grateful for it because I've met great people across the country that I would not have met if not for people's level of comfort with remote improving. But I wonder, right, like would it be having this impact that you just described if it happened before COVID and we hadn't
right.
already become used to being locked down?
Right, right. Yeah, I'm sure it would not have. I'm sure it would be completely different. You're so right. It is the series of events that have occurred and where we're at now. So to loop back to your and what a wild story about the ski lift. I completely can appreciate that. Like we are unplugged here. Get on board. We are unplugging on this ski lift. To answer your question about the AIR, I don't love the idea of giving some like the robot almost or not robot, but the technology a place on your team because it is part of your something that your team uses. But I don't love the idea of like putting meet our team on your website and then having like AI as one of the people, if you will, right? That whole thing. I don't know if that's what you were asking before with the AIR. Is that kind of?
It is exactly what I was asking because there are so many agencies now and there's so many businesses who are really saying, what's the tool that you can use to do this? And again, I wonder how you manage that, how you help people understand that, yes, it's okay to dabble in these tools. It's good to amplify your voice. It's good to amplify your effectiveness and your productivity. But, how do you balance that with making people really uncomfortable? And I think, it's a question I used to ask when I was an agency owner. I would think, okay, what other agency could come and eat my lunch? And that was the agency that I always wanted to be next. And wonder about with AI, is that a question that people are asking is when is there going to come a time when somebody's going to come to me and say, Christine, we no longer need Southern Palm because we've developed our AI marketer and we're going to put all our faith in that. And I think it's the same with the people who work for us. If we're encouraging them to use it, how do we make them feel comfortable that at some point we're not going to go to them and say, okay, well, you did this great job building your AI twin.
The thought that comes to mind is like at some point we are a customer relations and a relationship industry. We're a relationship world. You work with people that you like and want to work with. You work for companies, hopefully, that you like and want to work with. And when it comes to like even I think of like the big conglomerates that have exported their phone calls to a third world nation where they can get help for pennies on the dollar, right? Like as a consumer, that can sometimes be incredibly frustrating when you cannot speak the same language and you are not like there is a breakdown of communication there at some point, right? And I can't help but think of that as being similar to this of folks that take on AI as being their entire person, their entire team, if you will, for PR and marketing, they're going to have that communication breakdown. There's not that human in the loop. It is going to get frustrating. I think that business will suffer ultimately. because people will get frustrated and then not want to interact with it and not want to use it. Whereas if you have somebody who picks up the phone with a smile on their face and is speaking the same language, it's a lot more appetizing.
I remember when we first went to automated voice messaging, and it was a true differentiator to have a live person pick up the phone and recognize your voice because you had called last week too, and know exactly who you were calling for and what the problem was you were trying to solve. It's a big, big change. And so I agree with you. I think there's and again, right, human at the helm, human in the loop. We're preaching to the choir here. But and this will be my last question, and well, maybe not. There might be one more following this. So you're definitely leveraging AI in a really innovative way. I think we've talked a lot about what the opportunities are, but okay, so if you could wave your magic wand and have AI do something that you're not using it for right now, what would that be? Or does it already exist?
Ooh, that is a great question. So to touch a little bit more on what we are using it for, because I don't know if I touched on like the three main big things, and then maybe I can tell you from there what we're looking at in the future. Does that work? All right. So we have our intelligent comms platform. So that is basically a communications intelligence platform proactively delivering on brand content, targeted narrative insight at scale, keeping you ahead of the story, reducing revisions, saving the executives' time, and really just highlighting the story opportunity at your disposal. It scales the content without having them to spend hours on a particular project, and it cuts costs by up to 50% from the clients that we've already been working with. It goes beyond the monitoring and shows leaders where their story is winning. So that is a big one, intelligent comms platform. The second one is the content engine module. So that is a scalable system for publish ready on brand content across all formats, delivering articles, LinkedIn posts, press releases, FAQs, landing copy, all specifically for that company. And then the last one is the narrative intelligence module. So that's a proactive insight layer, turning signals into strategy. So it's delivering narrative snapshots, competitor benchmarks, gaps, opportunities, executive ready briefs. And it matters because it's surfacing the storyline to seize or defend. Or you're protecting your reputation or giving leaders data to justify budget increases. It's is all really interesting stuff that if to get into the super nitty gritty, we'd have to get Bo Brooklander on the call because he is the whiz behind all of this for Southern Palm Communications. He is truly the AI master on our team for the nitty gritty stuff. But there's no one thing in particular that Bo and I have discussed as we've talked about how we're utilizing these systems to help our clients moving forward. And I think that's part of the beauty is I know that by next week I'll have something that I've already thought of, right? Like there will be something down the pipeline as like ASAP. And that is a huge part of why our AI media training and coaching is so important with the clients that we're working with. We're every month getting on and updating them of either how the tools are changing, how they're evolving, what else is happening, what else is now out there that that they need to know about or that they need to utilize. So just constantly keeping the humans involved and up to date because AI is changing every single day. There's stuff coming out. You could literally read nonstop. There's constant stuff being published and things happening. So I don't have an answer for you yet, but hopefully if we talk in a couple weeks, I'll have one for you.
Well, we will, because it'll take me that long to get caught up with all the podcasts that I have. So is Bo the one who's creating all of this? Is he's actually writing your AI for you?
Yes, indeed.
Wow. That is very, very cool. Okay. So now I do have one more question, and that is,
And I say that with the caveat that he is the first one to say he is not an AI and or software guru. He is a communications professional of decades. He's done internal comms for decades, who has over the last couple of years, he saw AI coming down the pipeline and immersed himself in it these past few years and has used AI create these systems. Basically, he's used AI to do the coding to create these softwares specifically to help communication professionals.
it is nice when you can ask it to help you how, you can ask your AI to how it can better help you. Right? That's a question that I often ask is, how could I do this better? Or how can I get a better response from you? Or, to actually just have that conversation about how it can provide more help. But I do have one last question, and that is,
I am here for it.
there are so many AI tools coming on the market every day. And I think it is another topic we talk about is How do you develop a good AI strategy that helps you? Because, right, the best reason to have a good strategy is it makes it easy to say no to things. So I'm just curious, how how did you develop your AI strategy so you could actually stay focused on what was most relevant to you and most beneficial rather than just continuing to grasp onto things?
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head, like the AI hype and AI magic that people are claiming out there. We really want to move away from that and into exactly what is the product? What is the ROI? How is this going to help you long term? So we worked backwards. So we started with that, with what exactly was going to help these communications professionals. And from there, worked our way back and created these tools. And we've had great success with them so far and are excited to see as AI evolves in the coming days, weeks, months, years, how we'll continue to evolve with it.
It's hard to even imagine what that looks like. And that is, I think, another thing that's a little bit frightening is that if you're coming up into this, especially in marketing, well, I shouldn't say especially marketing because it's impacting everything, but it really, for entry level positions, I think it's going to be really challenging. And the problem with that is that really impacts senior level positions in 5 or 6 years. So it's going to
Absolutely.
be really interesting to watch.
Absolutely.
Well, Christine, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your perspective and I really appreciate you sharing about how you are using your systems ethically, thoughtfully, and intentionally to continue to drive results for your clients. And I do really like that. That is another thing that I always, when I mentor people, I try to remind them is focus on the outcomes. And the thing that's hard about that is when you're doing the work, you have to focus on taking the right steps and realizing that the outcomes are going to be what the outcomes are. But when you're telling your story and when you're thinking about where you want to go, it's best to think about what outcome you want to achieve first. So I really love that you've been so intentional about that. Again, I love the social responsibility aspect of your business. And it's very exciting that you've done so much in just a year and a half.
Thank you. I really
That's
appreciate
the other
it.
side is it's a year and a half. That's amazing. So
Thank
I'll put your URL in the notes and also include your LinkedIn profile as well. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on Human at the Helm. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, a human friend, and keep the conversation going about how we can lead smarter in an AI-driven world. Until next time, thank you.